A hollow sound slips out from underfoot, not loud, not quiet, just wrong enough to slow the body before the mind reacts. People compress without touching, pausing, where stopping feels heavier than moving eyes tracking space rather than faces. A rope tightens, then eases, wood answers water, and light fractures briefly on a surface that will not stay still. Anyway, the ground extends, permission feels temporary, and attention stays low, following what the next step might allow. Stone presses close before anything else is noticed. Light thins between walls that do not open. Footsteps scrape and return the sound immediately. The pace adjusts without stopping. Bodies angle to pass, shoulders turning before faces do. Hands keep close to sides. No one looks ahead for long. The ground underfoot is uneven, learned through repetition. Each step checks itself before landing fully. Sound stacks in layers, shoes over shoes, breath under cloth. Voices exist but do not travel far. They flatten against stone and fall away. Movement continues because stopping narrows the space further. A pause is felt behind the back before it is seen. Pressure arrives as warmth, then as touch. The corridor teaches its rule quietly. Edges begin to appear, doorways recede into shadow. Steps rise slightly, just enough to interrupt flow. Someone stands there, not entering, not leaving. Others move around without comment. Stillness costs space, light shifts without warning. A bright patch pulls attention, then breaks apart. Dust lifts and settles again. The air changes temperature by a small amount, enough to notice on the neck. The sound ahead loosens, echo shortens. The corridor gives way by degrees, not all at once. Walls pull back a little. The ground slopes almost imperceptibly. Smell arrives before water is visible. Dampness carries upward. Stone holds it. Cloth absorbs it. Breath tastes different here. Ropes appear first as lines across vision. They cut through space without explanation. Hands rest on them briefly, then release. The rope answers with tension. The street opens enough for sound to scatter. Footsteps lose their sharp return. Voices overlap and become indistinct. Movement hesitates. No one claims the center. The slope becomes clearer. Balance adjusts again. Weight leans forward slightly. Shoes test the surface before committing. Moisture makes itself known through the sole. Wood touches stone once, then again. The sound repeats without pattern. It draws the ear, but not the body. Boats sit lower than the path. They remain still only through effort. Ropes tighten, then ease. The motion transfers upward through the arm. People gather where the ground allows it, not too close to the edge, not far enough to lose access. They wait without forming a line. Hands signal small changes, a lift of fingers, a turn of the wrist. Movement adjusts without speech. The water reflects light unevenly. Brightness fractures with each ripple. The eye follows and then stops. Too much motion there. Standing feels temporary. The surface underfoot discourages it. One foot bears more weight than the other. Knees stay loose. Sound here comes from below as well as around. Water presses against hulls. Wood answers softly. The rhythm does not settle. The air cools closer to the edge. Cloth shifts against skin. A sleeve darkens slightly where it brushes stone. Someone steps aside to allow passage. The opening is brief. It closes as soon as it is used. Stillness appears in pockets. Between movements, between sounds, it sharpens awareness instead of easing it. The slope continues past the place where boats wait. Beyond that, the ground cannot be trusted in the same way. Feet slow again. No signal announces how long to remain. No marker suggests when to move on. The space does not explain itself. Pressure builds quietly through repetition. Step, adjust, listen, step again. The body learns what the space demands without naming it. Attention stays low, close to surfaces and sounds. Nothing resolves. The dampness carried from the slope does not leave the body. It lingers in the cloth and under the skin. Movement resumes with that weight still present. The ground narrows again, but not in the same way. Here, the surface is broader, yet less certain. Stone gives way unevenly. Patches hold, others slide. Footsteps change sound without warning. A hollow note appears, then disappears. The ear adjusts faster than the eye. Ropes remain in reach for longer now. Hands find them more often. Grip tightens, loosens, tightens again. The motion repeats without comment. Water stays close, never fully entered. Its presence is felt through vibration, through the way wood responds to it, through the way bodies lean away even while approaching. Voices arrive from behind and overlap. They do not belong to anyone in view. They pass through and thin out. Silence follows, but not cleanly. The smell deepens, not stronger, just heavier. It clings to the back of the throat. Breathing shifts to accommodate it. Light reflects upward now, not enough to brighten faces, enough to mark movement. Shadows stretch and break across uneven ground. People cluster where footing improves, not in groups, but in proximity. Each person keeps a small margin. That margin is tested repeatedly. A pause spreads when someone hesitates. It ripples outward as slowed steps. No one names the cause. The pause dissolves when balance is regained. Wood strikes stone again, this time closer. The sound carries differently. It arrives with a slight delay. The body holds tension from earlier passages. Shoulders remain angled. Hands stay ready. Even where space allows release, it does not come. Movement forward feels chosen less often. Instead, it feels permitted. The path allows, then resists. Allowance shifts without pattern. The edge becomes more complex. Lines intersect. Ropes cross paths. Feet navigate between them carefully. Water lifts and drops against hulls. The motion transfers upward through the dock, into ankles, into knees. Standing too long brings fatigue quickly, not exhaustion. A steady pull downward. Weight shifts from foot to foot. The sound field thickens, not louder but layered. Water below, steps beside, wood responding nearby. Attention narrows. It stays with what is closest. A hand, a rope, the next place to stand. Someone passes carrying weight. The load alters their balance. Others adjust around it automatically. Space reconfigures for a moment, then resets. Light fades unevenly. One side of the body cools faster. The other stays warm from proximity. Cloth dampens where it brushes surfaces. Stillness occurs again, but differently. Here it feels precarious, as if staying still too long would invite imbalance. The body resists it. A gap opens near the water, not wide, just enough to suggest movement. Someone takes it. The opening closes immediately. The surface there darkens. Moisture spreads. Sound from the street behind thins. It does not vanish. It stretches, then frays. The body carries earlier constraints forward. Even where space widens, movement remains cautious. The learned adjustments persist. No boundary marks the shift deeper along the edge. Only a gradual change in footing, in sound, in the way balance must be held longer before release. The water stays alongside, never entered, never ignored. Attention does not lift, it remains pressed close to the ground, to the hands, to the next step. The tension in the legs does not ease as the space opens. It redistributes, weight settles lower. The surface near the edge grows darker. Moisture spreads without cooling. Shoes register it immediately. Steps shorten. The sound of water no longer sits below. It presses outward. It wraps around movement instead of answering it. Ropes lie closer to the ground here. They cross paths without order. Hands hesitate before choosing which to touch. Some are left untouched. Light weakens in fragments, Reflections break before reaching the eye. Brightness appears, then withdraws. Nothing holds it. Bodies thin out without clearing. Space remains occupied even when fewer people stand in it. Absence still exerts pressure. The ground slopes again subtly, not enough to announce itself, enough to require constant correction. A foot slips slightly. Balance recovers. The correction travels upward through the body. It leaves no mark except tension. Sound sharpens, then dulls. Wood against water loses rhythm. The pattern never settles long enough to follow. Cloth hangs heavier now. Dampness deepens at the edges. Movement pulls it back and forth against skin. Stillness becomes harder to maintain. Pauses feel exposed. The body prefers motion even when motion costs more. The air cools further along the edge. Breath appears faintly, then not at all. Temperature differences are felt before seen. Someone stands near the water longer than expected. Others adjust around the space they occupy. No one signals impatience. The adjustment is silent. The sound behind continues to fade. Not replaced, just less available. Attention narrows further. It fixes on immediate tasks. Placement, grip, release. The surface ahead looks similar to what was past. It does not promise familiarity. Each step tests anew. Light drains from stone unevenly. Edges blur. Depth becomes harder to judge. The body carries accumulated strain forward. Shoulders remain set. Hands remain active. The habit does not drop. Water shifts again. The motion travels through rope and wood. It reaches the body indirectly, as vibration, as warning. Standing close to the edge feels provisional, as if permission could be withdrawn. Feet respond by staying ready to move. Sound spreads thinner here, not quieter, less anchored. The path continues without indication. No marker suggests arrival or departure. The ground simply extends. Movement slows further, not from decision, from condition. Stillness returns briefly. It sharpens the sense of imbalance. It does not comfort. The water remains alongside, at the same distance, at a different height. The body adjusts again and again. The adjustment feels endless. Nothing announces an end to this edge. Nothing marks a beginning elsewhere. The space does not close. Attention remains held by surfaces, by sound, by the next place to stand. The presence continues forward, not resolved, not released.